Our Torah portion this week is the very end of the book of Exodus, Vayikahel Pekudei, and I believe it was the Torah portion of one of my, I believe it might have been Anna's bat mitzvah Torah portion. And it is the repetition of the instructions to build the tabernacle. Remember that in Exodus 25 in Terumah, there were all of the instructions to gather all of the materials and make the tent and make the altar and make the ark and make this and make that and make all of these things. And then you had the episode with the golden calf. And when we had the episode with the golden calf, this pause in the middle, there was some question, what's going to happen to the relationship between God and the people of Israel? And then in Vayikahel Pekudei, we get the instructions, go ahead, let's build it now. And that is always taken as a sign that the people of Israel have repaired their relationship. They have made tshuva, they have gotten kapara, they have done acts of repentance and found atonement with God and are now ready to move on in their action and in their relationship. And it's part of that mode of the Torah where you get repetition over again, where you have something and then you have something and you keep repeating. And you could say it's repetition, but you can also say, well, this is part Torah teaching us stuff. When we put things together, we really need to pay attention to the details. And as I was thinking about the details that I'm about to share with you, I realized I had a perfect illustration for this. It was early in the days of Jill and I dating. We were in Tampa visiting my parents, and I wanted to show Jill my prowess as the person who could put things together. And there we were. My mother had gotten a new gas grill. If you know anything about my parents, they love to grill, they love to smoke. Have a great conversation with my dad about how to smoke a brisket. They are amazing with their grill and with their smoker. And my mom had gotten a new grill, and it was my job to help her put it together. And who needs instructions? We kind of looked at the instructions. Yes, screws and bolts, and it's obvious. And we put it together, and it was great until we got to the point where we had to put the gas can on, and the center of it was backwards. And you can't just pop it in and pop it out, or pop it out and pop it back in. Wouldn't you know, you had to take half the grill apart in order to reverse that one piece to put it back together. Now, I will tell you this, we successfully did it. My mother successfully cooked many a meal there, and Jill and I have been married for many, many years. So it was either the fact that I was successfully able to put the grill together, or it took me 2 shots. I'm not sure which one, but it all seems to have worked out in the end. I share that with you because that kind of detail, how do you put it together? Inside and out, around, how do you shape it? How does it fit so that it does what you need it to do, is something that you see both in Terumah, but also here in Vayikahel. Because here we have the description of the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark, which is a reminder of our Ark, where we keep our Torahs, is something that is a vital artifact of the people of Israel. It is so vital that it even made it to the big screen with Harrison Ford being Indiana Jones finding the lost Ark. It's that Ark that was constructed in the wilderness. And what is so beautiful about it is, if you just in the instruction of the Ark, there are multiple details that tell us something about how we move in the world. That's Judaism. We don't just have an Ark and say, ooh, it's pretty, or, oh, don't you love it because it's coated in gold. There's something about the Ark that is that seat where God's presence is going to rest, that's going to carry the 10 Commandments, actually is a reflection on who we are as human beings and how we move through the world. And I mean that by this, that if you look at the Ark and the instructions, I mentioned the gold, right? It's coated in gold inside and out. And the rabbis say, wait a second, why would you need to coat it on the inside and out? If you're looking at it, you're only looking at the outside. Rabbis say, that's because as we move through the world, as we think about how we bring holiness into the world, it's both our outside and our inside. If you do good things on the outside, but you got nastiness and cruelty and bitterness on the inside, then it's going to corrupt on the out. And you can have all of the wonderful, lovely, warm, and kind thoughts, but if you're cranky and mean and cruel to the world around you, if you're awful on the outside, that doesn't work either. When we look at the ark inside and out coated in gold, we are reminded to find those layers of goodness inside and out for us. I also love, as I share that story of trying to put together a gas grill, I also love that inside the Ark of the Covenant, we keep two sets of tablets. We keep both the set that Moses broke during the episode with the golden calf. Remember, he had been up on the mountain for 40 days. God had carved into the stone these 10 commandments. And Moses comes down and he sees the calf and throws them down to shatter them. And he then, after all of this stuff goes on, goes back up the mountain and gets a second set of tablets. The people of Israel carry both sets of tablets with them. And the rabbis easily and quickly and again in so many different ways say, look, that's the point. Carry both the brokenness and the wholeness. Carry both the success and the failure. Sometimes in your moments where you are having everything come together, you got to look and remember the moments where it didn't work out, where your mazel wasn't so good, where your life wasn't in blessing. Remember that, because some of that modesty, some of that humility, some of that brokenness is there to temper you as you move through the world. And in the same breath, when you're feeling broken and lost and all sharp edges and not sure how to put it back together, remember that there are full tablets there, that there are second chances, that you can go back up the mountain again and you can redo it and figure it out and find a new approach. Both the wholeness and the brokenness are in that Ark of the Covenant. That was stuff I knew. It was stuff I had learned in rabbinical school. It was stuff I had learned early in my career. But earlier this week, I came across yet another description of the ark that just got my attention in this day and age. The rabbis do something very interesting. Very often they'll come and there will be a question of what is the text saying, because there looks like there's a contradiction. I can give a great example. We are coming up to Passover, and many of us, I hope all of us, will have Elijah's cup on our table. And one of the reasons we have Elijah's cup is because in the verse where there are 4 descriptions of redemption, which leads to the 4 cups of wine, there's another word in there that could be another type of redemption, which would be 5 cups, but we only want 4 cups. So what did the rabbis do? We'll have 4 cups in Elijah's cup. Look, there's 4 or 5 cups of wine in Pesach. That's how the rabbis solve these kinds of problems, finding creative ways to approach something that they're not sure of in the text. And that is what happens here, because on top of the Ark of the Covenant are cherubim, winged creatures. We know a cherub now as the little baby with the wings and the diaper and shooting the arrows in love and romance. And we're not sure exactly what they were in the Bible, other than we know that they were winged, and a cheruv it has to do with a sword. So they're these winged animals, winged heavenly creatures. And what we were told, and this is where the contradiction, in one place it sounds like they are facing outward with their wings inward towards the center, and that's where God would sit on top, presence would sit on top of the ark. In another place it sounds like they're facing inward with their wings going out and their faces looking at each other. And the rabbis say, oh, Rashi says there's a simple explanation. It's not, wait, which way do they face? It's, whoa, they can do both. Because wouldn't you know it, the cheruvim, the cherubs on top of the ark, are movable. That's right, they move. And when do they move? Rashi explains it very simply. Rashi says when the people of Israel are looking at each other and listening to each other and talking to each other and interacting with each other, the cheruvim face inward, a reminder that the people of Israel are meeting panim el panim, face to face. They are having I thou conversations. But when communication breaks down, when they get frustrated with each other, when egos get in the way, when agendas get in the way, when they are bringing their yetzer hara, their evil inclination into the relationships, those cheruvim turn and face away from each other, pulling apart because they are acknowledging the community is apart, that the fabric of the community is away and pulling away the energy of God's presence. It's an incredible barometer and an incredible reminder to us. How do we want our community to look? Do we want it to be a place where everybody sees that energy pull inward, or do we want it where we push out and pull and tear at each other, preventing that energy from gathering? And there is not just, oh, we should be nice and talk and communicate with each other. I think there's a challenge there. It was one that struck me this week as I keep having conversations with people saying, oh, the pandemic is almost over, people are being vaccinated, we should be open. And then I've got other people who say to me, no, Rabbi, we can't open because it's not safe yet, because not everybody's got the vaccine, because we have to see what's going to happen with the COVID numbers. I keep having these conversations and people are not sure what to do. I keep hearing conversations of race. I keep hearing these conversations where, no, you can't say that about someone, or no, you can't cut them off of their book being published or have them not on this platform. I keep hearing these different discussions, these different debates, because they are real in our world. And I think the image of the cherubim will be with me very much in these coming months, but also as we move forward in our very polarized world, which by definition is being very divisive and pulled apart with our politics and our cultural understandings and our agendas. The cheruvim remind us of something very special and something very important. Think about when they face each other, because only one person gets to talk at a time. There's a challenge in those cheruvim that we have to be good listeners. That when we go and we are in dialogue and in conversation with somebody, we have to really listen to their words and listen to their soul and treat them as if they are made in the image of God. Even if they're saying stuff that we're not sure about or how to handle or what to say, we have to do that human work for connection. We can have debates, we can have disagreements, but that treating people with dignity and with grace and kindness is so vital. But I think the listening part might be the easier part, because really the harder part is when we talk. When we're the person that has something to say, do we make sure that we're not the cherub turned away and just shouting into the world? Do we make sure when we say to someone else what we think or feel or understand or believe, do we make sure we're that cherub turning in, looking at that other human being, how they feel, how they move, what their concerns, what their worries, what the weight they carry with them? Are we paying attention to that stuff? Are we carrying that sense of kavod, of respect, and chen, of grace, so that when we talk, when we speak into this world, that we are trying to reach out, to bring people into the circle of our caring community, to take care of our human family, that we're not just standing on our hill and not on our soapbox shouting out to the world, but when we speak, that we are doing it with kindness, with grace, pulling people into that space where the infinite presence dwells, that energy that connects us all, that brings forth goodness and kindness and peace. May we be those, whether we listen or we speak, in this day and beyond, may we be like those cherubs, turning inward to bring forth the presence of God. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.